If you are going for a mobbing build for Ultimate Bunny, then don't go with a high voltage build, especially in the 400% dungeon. Some players say that Bunny got dethroned by Freyna when it comes to mobbing, but the reality is, most of us just got so addicted with high voltage build that we don't like going back to the normal mobbing build for Bunny. High voltage that provides huge range and damage bonus to Bunny's lightning emission skill, but in return, you only hit a couple of enemies compared to the normal form of the skill that will hit enemies that are within its radius. Now, there are actually a couple of variants for a mobbing Bunny build, and it depends on what type of playstyle you want to use. There's a mobbing build for infinite running, a mobbing build that also deals good damage to bosses, and finally a mobbing build that also can tank good amount of damage. So first, let's discuss the mobbing build that don't consume any mana points, and you can infinitely use Bunny's Speed of Light with this build. In this case, we will need to use the Bionic Fuel skill module that consumes health points instead of mana points while using Speed of Light. This is good since you can negate the HP consumption by putting overwhelming shield in your build. The good thing about this ultimate module is that when it's equipped, the HP consumption is nulled since it will not consume shield. The only downside though is that your HP values turn to 1 and you will need some survivability with the help of shield and defense. In addition, this is a glass cannon build, and while you can enjoy the infinite Speed of Light, you will most likely need to know all boss attack patterns and dodge them, as one hit in your shield will be devastating. Also, the Speed of Light sprint speed gets decreased to 30%, and there are instances wherein I prefer to use other builds since in the 400% infiltration dungeon, there's always high enemy density that can drop a lot of mana orbs in the ground. Finally, you will sacrifice a lot of potential damage in a Bionic Fuel build since you will need to get rid of some critical modules just to place overwhelming shield, increased shield, and also biosync shield, which is a new mod that grants you shield once you pick up a health orb. Again, Bionic Fuel build is a good mobbing setup, but if the 30% reduced running speed, and as well as being a glass cannon are not your type of playstyle, then you can consider the superconductor setup. With this skill module, every enemy electrocuted by throw bomb or lightning emission will decrease their attack by 20%. It's not much, but it does help in survivability. And remember that you are using Bunny here to farm the 400% dungeon with other players. Now, with the high enemy density, the MP collector module becomes super handy in keeping your mana pool enough to always use your Speed of Light. However, in the boss room, you will rely with your grapple hook to increase the DPS of your lightning emission. Remember that the skill ticks faster when you are moving faster, hence it's always good to use Speed of Light with your lightning emission. To further help the team, I decided to add a gun setup for this superconductor build. I know some of you are allergic to using guns with Bunny, but if it helps the team in completing the mission fast, then I would not hesitate to use my guns at all. For this, I am using the Enduring Legacy to do more damage to bosses at 400% infiltration. The superconductor skill module allows Bunny to withstand some damage, and this allows you to spray Enduring Legacy with the sharp precision shot. So far, I can say that this is the best mobbing build for 400% infiltration dungeon, as you will breeze killing mobs of enemies without worrying about mana consumption, as both MP collector and the mana orbs dropped by enemies are enough to keep you running and killing. The only problem with this build is in the boss room, as there are a few enemies and mana orbs, hence I always use my guns to help the team kill the bosses fast. Now, there's another variant for this, and if you don't like superconductor, then you can always go with the electric condense skill module that does deal massive damage to bosses. However, take note that it will take time to charge up your ultimate ability, and it does consume your special resource when casting, which is why I just prefer to have the maximum electricity generated, which increases the damage done by lightning emission. Finally, I would also like to talk about electric transition in this video. In paper, this skill module is good, and if you think of it, then it can almost compete with the attack decrease buff of superconductor. However, the skill module is mediocre since the amount of shield recovered depends on the distant travel, and by the way, there's a delay in shield generation, and it's not instant once an attack depleted your shields. So basically, you will need to wait a couple of seconds before the shield regen effect of this skill module takes effect, and this is not good, especially in the 400% dungeon that has lots of enemies aiming to kill you. Before you go, I would also like to share my reactor and external components. Right now, I have a decent electric reactor that has skill critical hit and damage, which I did implant weapon mounting for both Enduring Legacy and Thunder Cage. Then for the external components, I have two Annihilation set which can be farmed from hard mode Devourer, and 2 Supernova set that is obtainable from hard mode Executioner. The latter will give extra electric damage to my build, while the former gives duration to optimize my lightning emission skill so I can cast it again after the duration expires. Also remember that in Season 2 we will be getting higher level upgrades for our reactors, so expect that this mobbing build will get better. So that's all about it. If you have the time and resources, go try out either the Bionic Fuel build or the Superconductor mobbing variant. It's really great in the 400% dungeon, and I hope this video helps you farm those amorphous materials fast, along with other rewards from the hard mode infiltration mission. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again in our next video.